What's up, guys? I've got to do a wheel bearing job on my S10 right here. I figured I'd make a video, let y'all see how it's done, what's involved. There ain't really much to it, pretty quick job. So let me show you what you need. You gotta pull your wheel and stuff off, put it up on jack, throw a jack stand under it, be safe. Really there ain't a whole lot of tools if you have an air compressor. Impact wrench makes this a lot easier as far as taking off the wheel and to get the axle nut loose. And on my 2002 S10, it's a 35 millimeter. Take that nut off. Thing's got a lot of torque to it, so impact makes it a lot easier. And then really it's just a couple screwdrivers to take some of the pressure off the caliper. 18 millimeter wrench, 18 millimeter socket, and I think that's pretty much about it. Maybe I think you need a 10 millimeter to take the ABS line off, because it reroutes and comes up back up here to the new to the plug with the new wire. And that's kind of it. It's really not that bad a deal. I suggest when you buy wheel bearings, you buy a good brand, either Moog, Detroit, somebody like that. If you buy junk, you're gonna get no life out of them. That's the part number for my ZR2. The other ones just don't last. I mean, it may be tempting to buy a cheaper wheel bearing that's 40-50 bucks, but you're gonna do it every year. You buy a good brand one and you won't have that issue. Makes a big difference. So you definitely get what you pay for in wheel bearings. Alright, let me get set up and alright, we're going to start by getting this nut loose. Like I said, it's got quite a bit of pressure on it, which is definitely necessary. We'll wash it off. Then we're going to pry out on these calipers a little bit. Just makes it easier to get them off. If you give them a little slack in the brake pads, should work. Next, we'll take out the caliper bolts, pull the caliper out of the way, and the caliper mounting bracket, and get that out of the way. We can pull the rotor off, start unbolting the bearing. Alright, we've got the caliper off. We're just going to push that out of the way for a minute. Let's get over here and pop these brake pads out. Like I said, I'm pretty sure those are getting worn. Yeah, they are. It's time for a new set. Alright, we're going to pull the caliper mounting bolts, or the bracket bolts out. Get that out of the way and get rid of this caliper. Alright, so we've got the caliper mounting bracket out of the way. And this top bolt, unless you turn the wheel, will hit your A-arm. Just leave it there. It's fine. You don't have to worry about it. Then you can just pop your caliper off. Set that to the side, and now you can get to your bearing. There's 3 bolts in it that hold it in. One here, one at the top, and right here on the back behind your tie rod in. So we'll knock them loose real quick and get the bearing out of here. Alright, so I got the bolts out of the wheel bearing, but before I take this out, I'm going to pull this wire loose so it's not pulling on it. So 10 millimeter bolt here, a 13 millimeter bolt here that you have to hold the nut, but you got to hold the bolt on the back so it'll spin, and that holds the brake line and stuff in place. Then there's a 13 back here that holds the brake line on. That is a pain. I remember now. You have to use a wrench pretty much the whole time to get it out. Then you just unplug it. So we'll do that real quick, and then we'll knock this bearing out. Alright, stand by. Alright, and we just unclip it here, and then the wire is loose. And some of these brackets I think you have to reuse. I think this one I think comes on it, but we'll see. We'll unbox it. When all else fails, get a bigger hammer. That's pretty much it. Seal on the back. Should come with a new one. That's pretty rough. And there's the bearing. And this one isn't terrible, it's just making noise. I ain't real crazy about, because I'm going to go to the mountains in November and I don't want to deal with issues. So I'm going to change it now. What I'm going to do is take a wire brush on a little right angle drill here, clean all this up. I got a good place to put that bearing. Unwrap the cord in. It does come with one wire, but not the other. Or one clip, rather. Like so. Slide up on the axle and get the splines lined up. Alright, that's pretty much how it goes. We'll start the bolts back in, just get it held in place. Start all the bolts before you start tightening them down so they don't get in a bind. And then we'll hook up our wire. Alright, now. Alright, so what I've done is I've just stuck the bolts in by hand and got all three started, and I ran them up pretty much as far as I could go with my fingers. Biggest thing is when you tighten this, you want to do it kind of stagger them a little bit so it pulls up nice and straight. You don't get one in a bind and fight it the entire time, because you will if you try to pull in one side completely and don't keep up with the other sides. Alright, so that's what we'll do next. Alright, so we've got all those tight, pulled up nice and even. Now we're going to run our wire before we get too far carried away, which is probably the worst part of this, really, is fighting these brackets and getting them lined back up. So we'll do that next. Alright, so we got the ABS wire hooked back up, bracket here. That one right there is kind of a pain to get started. Trying to feed through the back to get it in. And there's actually yellow marks on the new ABS wire where you put your clips, which kind of helps. Make sure that it's not in a bind. Might have to knock him down a little bit, just get it off that bracket, but I think we'll be alright. Alright, so I actually moved that down a little bit just to give it some relief off of that bracket. Last thing you want is ABS code because the wire's rubbed in too. Alright, so the next part is the caliper. I mean, excuse me, the rotor. Slide that back on. Then we can put our caliper bracket back on. We'll get this bolted up, like so, and then we'll keep going. Alright, stand by. Alright, so I decided to go ahead and get some brake pads while I was doing this, just because I've already got it off and it's a crappy day. It's raining and nasty and I got nothing better to do, so might as well do these. I'll be done with this side anyways. I'll go ahead and do the other side today too. But anyway, to get the new pads in, you've actually got to push these two pistons back in. So what I'm going to do is stick an old pad in there, like so, and then use the C-clamp to push them back in. So let's see if I can get this on camera here. If it'll even fit. Be kind of tricky. Alright, so this is kind of what you're after. Make sure it's kind of in the middle. Basically in the middle of the two pads, and you're just going to tighten it down. And it'll push them pistons right back in. You want to do it nice and slow so it doesn't blow brake fluid everywhere out of the top of the master cylinder. But that's the plan. Hang on. Alright, so that worked well. Didn't take a whole lot of effort. Now we're going to put a little teeny dab of anti-seize right here. And you don't want to go crazy with this. And you don't want to get it all over your rotor. But we're going to put a dab right there just to help keep the pads loose so they'll retract when you let go of the brake. Alright, I'm going to stick our new pads in here. Oh, lost the clip already. And there ain't a whole lot to this. Most of the time, they just pop right in. Make sure you get the right ones facing the right direction. That's basically it for brake pads, at least on this truck. Stick a new rotor up, our caliper back up. I might have to fool with it a little bit just because of the new pads and getting it lined up. Can be a pain sometimes. Trying to get them all lined up. You gotta watch these boots down here, make sure they don't get damaged. Get a little bit more relief. There they go. Alright. See that boot got folded over. I want to make sure that's nice and straight. And then the pins that go in it, you want these to have some anti-seize as well. If they get seized up and won't move, your caliper won't release, generally on one side, and will wear a pad, like say the outside pad, or maybe the inside pad, just depends. Because it'll be holding constant pressure against the caliper to the brake pads. And it'll cause that side to wear out really fast because it's rubbing constantly. Because these calipers actually float on those pins. And then we just run them down and wipe down this rotor, make sure I ain't got any grease or anything, any seize on my hands. And that will be all of it. Other than we do got to tighten the nut on the axle. We just start that by hand, then run it off with the impact. I like to do it last just so you have something to hold on to it with. You can use the rotor to help hold it. And that's really bad for your hands, just so you know. Alright, alright, that's the finished product. Everything's back together, nuts tight, I wiped everything down. It's good to go. It's not a bad project. If I'm not fooling with the camera and messing around, trying to get angles and stuff so everybody can see, I can do this probably half an hour. Hey, one thing I failed to mention, before you put the car or truck in gear, pump the brakes up until they get tight. If not, you're going for a ride before you think to pump them up to stop the car. Because you push the pistons all the way back in the calipers, there's going to be a gap. So definitely start the car up, pump the brakes up till they get tight, then you're fine to put it in gear. And most small pickups are pretty much the same. Even the half-ton Chevrolets are the same. It isn't really much to it. Don't need a whole lot of tools. So it's something you can handle. Alright, if you like what you see, please subscribe, click the like button, and click the notification bell so when I post another video, you get notified that it's up. And we'll see you on the next one. Thanks, guys.